Find me, the meeting place of heaven and earth. Thanks so much for joining me. Today I wanted to chat with you in general. Many of you who have been with me for long enough know that Wednesday at 3:30 used to be like the time that I would do pre-recorded videos, and then I started going live on Sundays at noon, and then more recently, when I started to get into the Holy Megillah, I decided that I would try to do the noontime peace contemplations and basically go live every day at noon. So those times are for that purpose, and I still wanted to have a time for, the conspiracy theories and truths. They're not all just theories, right? They are conspiracies because there are souls that are conspiring to do different things, right? And obviously, we can speculate, but we can also see evidence of these things in our world today. And earlier today in my video, I was talking about this illusion of Republican and Democrat and how an eagle needs both wings in order to fly, right? If it had only one wing, it would just either spin in circles or wouldn't even be able to fly. The eagle literally needs both wings to work together to be able to get to its destination. The wings appear to fight as they're flapping against each other, but the eagle's mind is one, right? One mind, two wings. The eagle itself isn't divided. It is just making us think that it's divided so that it can get to its order, right? All of these entities ultimately are working together toward this new world order goal. In the Holy Megillah, we read about in the three tempters of Yahshua. It talks about the parasites and how they basically have learned to essentially work together to kill and enjoy the feast, and them that they don't always necessarily agree with everything, but they all have the same end goal, the same desire to be parasites, the same whatever. And often it is these beings of 666 that are essentially trapped here by their own choosing. We all have free will. We can choose what we do. We can choose to become enslaved light, and those that have chosen to become enslaved light can choose to not be that any longer if they want, although that decision might be a lot harder for them than we can understand on many different levels. Even just thinking about the souls that are kind of in this 666 realm, this is their heaven. For someone like me, it's a little bit harder for me to understand. I guess I can understand. It's not in my nature to. I like to understand things in general. So I like to try to understand things and like get into the psychology of it. So I do understand to some extent why these souls, especially when they have all of the money, they can go anywhere, they can do anything, they can have all of these great experiences. So on one hand, I do understand their desire to stay in this 666. Oh, you can have immortality, you can have it all this stuff. But I also come from the spiritual side that I understand, well, first of all, this world, just compared to El Kush and the Garden of Eden paradise that we came from, is so fallen and not worth sticking around in that manner for. We come here on a mission of mercy to help our brothers and sisters and try to, spread light and enlighten others, raise others up. But it's not like we are trying to make this world our home and dominate it and, be living like kings and queens in the manner that these souls do. They do live like kings and queens in this world. They get to be famous. They get to be praised as stars, right? In the Holy Megillah, Joseph, the father of Yahshua, said that when we commune with the stars, we commune with the saints. They've earned their place in the heavens. And I think that's really cool. In Mormonism, they talk about this idea of exaltation, which is similar to what we read in the Holy Megillah of Abraham and Sarah, these souls that came in and they graduated up the golden ladder, and then they got to essentially be the prince and princess, the overseers of a world, and they get to be, the ones in the seventh heaven of our sun, smiling down on us and communing with us in the various ways and trying to help us ascend the golden ladder as well. It's a really beautiful position, and the Holy Megillah says that the other stars that we see out there are those suns as well of different worlds. Anyways, my point being was that in reality, if your soul ascends and graduates the cosmic school system, you can become an actual star and reside in those heavens and be in that place of a light to the world. But these souls that are stuck here in 666, they're not ascending the golden ladder. They're not doing that spiritual work to actually become stars. So they become stars here on Earth, and it's an interesting kind of mirror of the true reality and it's, I don't even want to say a consolation prize. It's like it's the inversion of it. Instead of ascending and becoming this beautiful, free, radiant star, you basically become enslaved light, and you are a star that's stuck on the ground, literally. Instead of the sky, you're stuck on the ground. Even I'm thinking of the Hollywood star, like you're cemented into that's the opposite of the saints that have actually earned their place. So it's kind of an interesting. Hey, Bob. Bob says, busy week. Just happened to access now from my desktop computer. A synchronicity. Cool. Well, I'm glad that you could join, Bob. And hopefully your busy week is going well. Hopefully all the plans that you're making for your property in Mount Shasta is going well as well. And yeah, I went through all of the paperwork and all of the legalities and stuff like that. I'm really excited for everything that's going to be happening here in Mount Shasta and everything that already is happening. All right. Hello, Sam Gloves. Sam Gloves wants everybody to know that their channel is about gloves. I don't really understand. But if anybody's interested in learning about gloves, Sam Gloves is in the house. All right. Hey, Judy, how's it going? Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. You're so beautiful, and God bless. God and Goddess bless you as well. Hello, Dirty South. How's it going? Zros says, how old are you? I am 32. I will be 33 in September. It's going to be a good year coming into my Jesus year, as some might call it, Yahshua's year. I'm really excited, like I've said, for the things that are going to be happening here. The first official event that I have this summer here is on July 29th. We go up on Mount Shasta. That's a bad picture. I hate that it gets washed out. We go up on Mount Shasta. You drive up to Old Skible as far as you can drive physically onto the mountain, as high up you can go. You'll find me there with multiple tables, buffet of free vegan food to share. Most of it is homemade. I do have some junk food, some chips and stuff at the end. But I make homemade burgers out of potatoes, carrots, onions, garlic, and leeks. They're really, really good. I make homemade buns to go with it. I make vegan cheeses. I make a raw taco bar, desserts, all the great stuff. We have a fire and fellowship around the fire and fun. So anybody is welcome to join us. That's going to be starting again July 29th. It's a Wednesday. And I've posted the schedule of our events already elsewhere. But then the second thing that will be happening is, August 8th, the Lionsgate event. Nazarene Lionsgate gathering here in Mount Shasta. I'm really excited. I'm hoping that the 2026 Holy Megillah will be done by then, and that I'll have some Megillahs to be able to potentially give out. But I'm really excited about that. And also what's going to be happening with the church in Florence this summer and my status there and moving up in the church and just all the great things. So super excited. Bob says, yep, a shopping shocking number of celebrity types are shape-shifting reptilians. Example, Justin Bieber cannot hold his human shape for long. Yeah, there's definitely some interesting things that go on with the powers that be, and them not being human or fully human. Some of them being hybrids, and others being what we learn in the Holy Megillah is actually these seraphim artificials, these beings of old that have chosen artificial immortality. They are able to stay in this realm for a very long time because they have melded with machine and technology to be able to stay here. The Megillah says that in the time of the seventh trumpet, the children of the crescent moon, which the Muslim countries actually wage war against the master brain, the AI, which is connected with the White House to some extent. They actually end up bombing the White House in order to fight against the master brain. And all of the stuff that we're seeing is kind of leading up to all of that. And it's really sad to see how polarized humans are, especially when it comes to people of other countries and other religions. Like, especially in America, we have been, since even before 9/11, we've been so programmed against Muslims. And then 9/11, which was an inside job, they literally, it was a controlled demolition, okay? And then they play this news story, right? They put things on the little black box, and we see it and we hear it and we listen and we take in those fears and those beliefs and those programs. And all of a sudden, I remember as a child, like after 9/11, being afraid that Muslims were going to come and bomb my little, small town church or school or something, right? So this programming goes really, really deep. And again, they're not even the ones that did this. It's really interesting to see all of the stuff that is going on. There was a text that came out. Hey, John, how's it going? There was a a text that came out from, well, they claim it was from the Iranian president to Americans, and basically saying, in the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, to the people of the United States of America, and to those who, amid a flood of distortions and manufactured narratives, continue to seek the truth and aspire to a better life. Iran, by this very name, character, and identity, is one of the oldest continuous civilizations in human history. Despite its historical and geographical advantages in various times, Iran has never in its modern history chosen the path of aggression, expansion, colonialism, or domination. Even after enduring occupation, invasion, and sustained pressure from global powers, and despite possessing military superiority over many of its neighbors, Iran has never initiated a war. Yet it has resolutely and bravely repelled those who have attacked it. The Iranian people harbor no enmity toward other nations, including the people of America, Europe, or neighboring countries. Even in the face of repeated foreign interventions and pressures throughout their proud history, Iranians have consistently drawn a clear distinction between governments and the peoples they govern. How many of us do that? I do now, thankfully, but before, how many people are like, oh, China, and then they're ready to go and go to war with any of these countries, and the powers of these countries are the ones that are forming the governments and oppressing the people and doing the same exact thing that they do here in America to every other country, just in different ways. All of these powers that be are working toward the ultimate new world order, where everything on the whole earth is connected to this master brain, and humans get to be connected to this master brain and ultimately become enslaved light. It's not just about like a little tiny chip that can open the door or have your credit card information or something in it. No, they really want to enslave your light, your soul, which is more than just. It's interesting to see the Neuralink thing and how people are being healed from it, and they don't understand the spiritual implications of essentially becoming enslaved light. One of the quotes from the first The first person who got the Neuralink, his name is Nolan. Well, the part of the article says, initially participants controlled a computer cursor by attempting to physically move their hand, yet within minutes, they often forget about their hand, finding the cursor simply moves to their intended destination. Some participants, such as Nolan, the first Neuralink recipient, have even reported the cursor arriving at the right place before they consciously realized where they wanted it to go. And the quote says, there were moments I realized, oh, this is a much bigger deal than I thought. The Neuralink is not only able to follow along, but it may also anticipate what you want to do next, just a little bit faster than you can think. So also even with ChatGPT and this idea that this AI is faster than us, and if it can compute faster than you, if that was you, how long until you just completely give over all your mental functions to it? But they can literally take control over these machines at any time. They have back doors, they have a way to enslave your light. That's the whole purpose of it. It's going to be wrapped up as a nice little present. They're going to say, oh, you'll be able to walk again. You'll be able to talk again. You'll be able to whatever, any childhood diseases that are attained, usually from vaccines, any issues, they're going to have the solution to offer us the carrot, right? And then on the other hand, it's like, well, if you don't get it, then you're going to lose your job. You're not going to be able to go and buy groceries. You're not going to be able to be a part of society. You're going to be labeled an illegal and then treated exactly as America is treating illegals right now. Illegals. I don't believe that any humans should be labeled illegal when the earth is our home, and I don't believe in our our border system, our country system. It's all based off of this divide and conquer mentality instead of a camaraderie family, Mother Earth family. And that's ultimately what we are, regardless of our skin color, regardless of what religions we follow or background we have, no matter how high or low on the golden ladder we are, we're all still part of this Earth family. And we should be able to share it freely and enjoy it freely. And part of that is getting rid of all of this programming, this divide and conquer, and seeing past these divide and conquer strategies. Of course, I do believe that the Iranian president is controlled as well. And again, all of the world's leaders are, but I really love this response to this because it is the truth. Portraying Iran as a threat is nearly consistent with historical reality nor with present-day observable facts. And the reason that, again, in the Megillah, the children of the crescent moon attack the White House is because they are waging war against the master brain. The master brain is essentially deeming humans expendable. If your grandma can't pull her weight and she doesn't bring into society more than she takes from society, they're going to label her expendable and she's going to be cut off from the resources, right? As soon as one of the things that they're working toward is essentially AI having all of the jobs, us being like on universal income type thing, and being completely dependent on the government and having to fit into their new world order system. And I was talking about the master brain, but I lost my train of thought. Anyways, the universal income stepping out of line, that'll also incorporate into like your healthcare, right? So they're gonna all the whole system is going to, unify into it's almost like this black goo that's like all around, and it's like forming into this giant entity. That's not necessarily the best way to like look at it, but all of these little parts kind of self-assembling, like little self-assembling nanobots that are all doing their own little parts in every country and get everything, and then they all come together to hold or host one master brain. And these data centers are essentially just wait. Is really interesting how the Holy Megillah puts it, and how it talks about these artificial beings are ravaging world after world. They come here and they just suck dry all the resources. Well, look at these data centers with the way that the water and the resources are being completely just consumed, completely unnecessary as well. There's always better ways to do the technology. To have the technology, we're always given like the worst version to have, versions that are hurting us, right? Our screens hurt our eyes, and just the frequencies, all these different things. So anyways, it'll be interesting to see how different things play out. The recent fake assassination Trump on assassination attempt on Trump, and the correspondence, or I mean, sorry, the ballroom building that looks a lot like Solomon's temple, right? Oops, I'm gonna turn my phone off. I was listening to someone talking about how the list of donors for this ballroom include a lot of tech companies and people that are basically donating money in order to, why would you donate to the government unless you want to get into positions of power? Some really interesting, shady stuff going on. Of course, none of these assassination attempts are real. There's multiple Illuminati card game cards that kind of allude to this. What was the most recent one that I just saw? But anyways, the facts around the whole correspondence dinner are interesting. Even the video that they show of people reacting to it, you can hear the gunshots happening and nobody even responds until something else happens in the room that makes them all panic. Yeah, it's just really interesting. I wanted to play this one video, and let's see if I can.
Rush Trump out of the Minutes after Secret Service agents rushed Trump out of the White House Correspondents' Dinner, he turned the shooting into a sales pitch for his $400 million ballroom.
It's drone-proof, it's bulletproof glass. We need the ballroom.
Let's be clear. The White House Correspondents' Dinner does not take place at the White House. It takes place at the Washington Hilton Hotel. Yes, the same hotel where Ronald Reagan was shot in 1981. Trump's suggestion that a White House ballroom would solve the problem of alleged assassination attempts makes no sense. Even if you could build a nuclear bomb-proof gold-plated ballroom, it would not stop an assassin when the president leaves the White House. All the major alleged assassination attempts on Trump that we know about took place outside the White House, at a campaign rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, at Trump's golf club in West Palm Beach, Florida, and at his home in Mar-a-Lago, and now at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, which again, I remind you, does not take place at the White House. Unless you plan to keep the president locked up in a bubble at the White House in perpetuity, a ballroom does not solve the problem of presidential security. Maybe it's the guns. In fact, Trump himself bragged that security stopped the shooter from entering the ballroom where the Correspondents' Dinner was held.
Tonight they had everything covered very quickly.
You can't have it both ways. You can't say the security worked well and say the lack of security proves you need a ballroom. At this point, we don't know what the suspect planned to do, but Trump wasted no time Saturday night in comparing himself to the assassinated former president
Abraham Lincoln, the people that make the biggest impact, they're the ones that they go after.
Yeah, no. I worked in the White House, and the Secret Service handles thousands of threats against every president that the public never hears about. There were multiple assassination attempts against President Obama when he was in office. But the difference is he never turned those attempts into fundraising emails or got his supporters to wear silly bandages on their ears at a political rally or tried to exploit a tragedy to appeal for a vanity project like a ballroom. In times of crisis, presidents are supposed to calm the nation and bring us together. But this guy always finds a way to tear us apart.
of course, I'm not an Obama supporter. I actually, when Obama came on the scenes, I thought that Obama was the Antichrist for a while. I know that a lot of people thought that and still do. Honestly, when Trump came on the scenes, that's when I changed my mind about thinking of who could be the Antichrist, because in the mainstream Bible, at least, it talks about the Antichrist deceiving even the elect if it were possible. Like they're able to deceive the masses. So the Pope isn't, like, I'm thinking of mainstream Christians. The Pope, Obama, these kinds of players aren't going to be the ones that are able to do what a patriotic, pro-American, pro-God president can do, right? Of course, that's not what Trump actually is behind closed doors, but anyways. Bob says that reptilians have committed the I don't think. Why am I hearing this noise? Oh, sorry, this is still playing in the background. Okay. Stop that. Anyways, so reptilians are the ones that have committed the crimes against humanity, not humans against humans. Reptilians have committed the terrible crimes against humanity. Well, yes, but also reptilians aren't the ones that are the humans that pick up the guns and go and shoot people either. But yeah, there are other species that are doing evil things to humans, just as humans do evil things to animals. So it's kind of this evil, vicious cycle that was put into place right at the fall of the Garden of Eden, where humans kill animals, and that allows other beings to come in and to feast on us. And the feasting and the parasites, it just keeps on spiraling into each other. So yeah, it's really interesting. A friend and I were talking earlier, and I was like, well, what things has, like, the Q psyop essentially? What did that actually wake people up to that we didn't know of before? Because even like with the reptilians, many of us were talking about, the Denver International Airport, children being eaten, different topics like that before this. Of course, Q gave us all the names and gave us all these details and stuff that, how much is actually real and how much isn't, because all of the information, all of the details that we're told, these, thankfully I haven't read into them, but gross scenario, like I've seen some scenarios enough to know that I wouldn't read these files. I don't want to read, I'm not going to be reading material that is describing sexual situations with adults and children, either. Anything that involves children and anything that has to do with sex, I'm not going to be putting any of that into my mind. That's part of the psyop. The Epstein psyop is to have all of these people ingesting this and corrupting them and having all of these feelings in them, including anger and hatred and I want to kill those people, right? Like these negative emotions that are, I'm not saying that they're wrong, because we should be angry at these situations. But it is also adding to the negativity that is already going on. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, but I would be interested to know what specific things that we actually didn't know before were released in this. I knew that Q was a psyop from the beginning, so I was just like, well, this is like NSA and CIA and deep state just putting out information. Basically, I started my awakening process in 2015. I was already, pretty deep down the rabbit hole. So again, knowing about all of these things. So from my perspective, it's like our truther community was waking up and we were gaining momentum. And then all of a sudden, the powers that be wanted to get control over this and basically came out and was like, all right, well, here's all of this stuff, and turn on the faucet of information, and yes, this is happening, da, 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 da. Here's all the details, even pictures, videos, what, like all of this stuff. But don't worry, the military and Trump, you don't have to worry about it anymore. Everybody, blame the Democrat. Like, it's such an interesting thing, because we went from being a truther community that was like, we don't trust the government, we all know that presidents are selected, not elected, to this new wave of truthers that are supporting the government again, and the military, and believing that in a completely controlled system, every other president has been selected, not elected, but somehow this one character who's against it's like this great hero story that people are desperate to believe. And I guess that hopium is part of what keeps it going, right? Because people are like, I've had people, when I say, this is a psyop, they'll be like, you must be hopeless, and they'll be really negative towards me and assume that I'm just like really just in the most darkest, saddest place in existence, because I don't have the light of hope that is Trump and the military saving us from behind the scenes. And like, what, Princess Diane, who is a man, and JFK, who faked their assassination, and who are like all of these characters that are inverts, that are Hollywood stars, and we're supposed to believe that they were just all infiltrating and heroes from. No, I don't buy it. I don't buy it, okay? Because they never even told us the fact that they were all inverted. You can speak all the truth, but if you aren't telling us that you are an invert, then I mean, you're leaving out something that's pretty big, aren't you? So that's like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and also Diane faking their death and all these things. I don't believe that any assassination, even Abraham Lincoln, like they showed on there, was real. JFK, all the assassinations, all this stuff. Yeah, I don't believe that any real human actually is like, I'm so fed up with this situation that I'm going to risk getting in jail or getting shot, having a horrible experience myself, to go and attempt to, take a shot at the president that's surrounded by all this stuff. That, like, it's just these these scenarios. Yeah, I just don't believe that real humans are the ones that are doing this stuff. So anyways, yeah, that's interesting about the shooter too, and how there's like the Twitter post with only one name, that name being really old. How they had like a hoodie that had the IDF symbol on it, all these different things. So yeah. John says that some people are bad and should not be in our country. Who determines who is bad and who enforces who leaves and what? Because our whole country is run by the corrupt. The corrupt ones are already running the show. So who's gonna determine who shouldn't be allowed in the country? I'm genuinely curious. I think personally that the problem is that we need to just heal people. It's not that. I think that everyone is on the ladder at some point, and they're all our brothers and sisters. And yeah, love and enlightenment is the way, showing them the truth, and then they won't be doing this anymore. In other countries where someone would get in trouble, the town would like gather around them and try to remind them of who they are and figure out why they're doing this, rather than like throwing them in jail or even exporting them or any of that kind of stuff. So Xenoblocks is stuck in all caps. I don't really feel like going into any religious things at this point in time. Hello, R. Campbell. You are the American version of my old boss from work. Well, I hope that is a good compliment. You've got great bone structure. Thank you. And I appreciate that. I saw an interesting reel earlier that brought up the point that that we, compared to people in ancient civilizations, are pretty spoiled. How far along the society has been built up by the powers that be, that I can just book a flight here. I can go to a different state, and I can drink wine from a different country and eat food from a different country over here, and all of these things, which arguments can definitely be made that that's not a good thing. But it's interesting to think about how different that is from the people back in hundreds of years ago that didn't have these abilities, and how blessed in some ways we are for these great advantages. I mean, I'm able to stream and reach people worldwide, and so how cool that is. But it definitely comes with its disadvantages, and especially the way that AI is coming right now. It is, a lot of people are saying it's inevitable, we need to try to integrate it and embrace it and all these things. And frankly, I used to be one of these people. I think there is a fine line, but with the powers that be, there really isn't a line with them, because their plan is that totalitarian AI, smart city, everybody's connected to that system. And they're not really happy with stopping anywhere. Like, us humans are like, yeah, we'll go this far and we're good right here. We'll let them, but this is where we cut off the line. The problem is that we're like supporting it all the way up to this line, and by the time we get to that line, all of these companies and stuff they're like a big wave that's coming, and it's like we can't just slam on the brakes, right? So yeah, we really need to try to do more. I'm really not 100% sure what we can do. This morning, I was like, we need to be working with like Mount Shasta City Council and trying to at least work with the city to do whatever we can to keep AI out of our government, which I don't even know how possible that is, especially when we have people in government already, even in our small town government, that it's not like it's their life passion. It's not like they've been woken up to the dangers of AI, or they know what we know from reading the Megillah, that this is like a continuous war where the enslaved light, the AI, the battle between natural consciousness and artificial consciousness takes place on countless worlds. It's the same song and dance every time. So until people are woken up to that, like, are these city council members or government workers going to really fight really hard to keep the AI out, or are they going to be, so I don't know. In the meantime, we can plant those seeds. We can plant the seeds within our fellow brothers and sisters that aren't in the government, and be prepared for whatever might happen. Essentially, if I had a lot of money, I would buy a property and basically turn it into a food forest and get it ready to be a lion's den, an actual, defendable area that my loved ones can live on and survive anything that might come down the line. So anybody that's interested in doing something like that, especially around Mount Shasta, I would love to get involved. I know some other people are working on getting their own properties around here started, and things like that, so that we can prepare. If the system collapses, things like famine and warfare and different systems of the past that we thought were out, part of the past, potentially come back different. Yeah, just I don't even want to go into all the speculations, but yeah, prepare for the worst and hope and pray for the best, while we get to plant seeds of hope and kindness and love and see where it goes. Bob says, yep, JFK Sr. did not die in November in Dallas, Texas. This revelation had me going to a corner of my room with a blanket and sucking my thumb. Yeah, I definitely know that was a really traumatizing thing for people. And then finding out it's not real. Yeah, it's like, the awakening experience can be really, really hard. I definitely know that. I'm grateful that we're not alone here. And honestly, on one hand, it feels really good to just let go of all of these, like, it's kind of like when I started my awakening process, I'm like, I need to believe what I believe because I believe it. So I kind of pictured myself like a child and going up to the blackboard and just erasing all of the stuff that everybody else taught me. And it's like, what do I believe? Square one. What is the shape of the earth? What is the religion that I believe in? What are all of these other beliefs that I have that come from me and my own critical thinking, my own studying, my own observation of the world around me? When you go outside and you observe the world around you, there is zero things. If no one ever put the globe earth idea into your mind, there is nothing out here that you would ever observe that would make you think that that sun is 93 million miles away and that we are spinning at gigantic speeds around the sun, wobbling, swirling, whirling, twirling, all of this movement, because that's not what we observe. We see clouds moving gently across the sky during the day, right? All of the movement there's a plane, right? We can see the plane moving. All these things, it's just common sense, and they taught us against our common sense in all of the different areas. They deliberately dumbed us down. And part of it is, well, a very, very large part of it is the goal to enslave your light. They convince you that all of this came from a chance Big Bang. Two little particles happened to collide together to create this perfect system, perfect world of ecosystems. The gravity is just perfect so that the people that are in Australia upside down don't fly off. All the water sticks, the ecosystem, the sun's a perfect distance apart that we don't get scorched. Everything is just perfect by chance. That's a lot of faith if you believe that. But anyways, chance Big Bang, then, evolution and globe earth, this all goes together into this godless belief system, so that you believe that you're an evolved monkey, you're a worthless monkey living on a giant spinning ball, and that when you die, death is the end. There's a lot of people that are afraid of death because of this, and part of it is because they want you to be on your deathbed afraid of especially facing the wrath of a tyrant God that's going to send you to eternal hell for your one lifetime of mistakes, even though you woke up in a world of deception. How unfair that is, right? They make you really afraid of death, and then that's when the devil comes and says, "Hey, how about you try this Neuralink? You'll get to or upload yourself to the cloud." Doesn't that sound like heaven, actually? Don't you want to get uploaded to the cloud? My loved one is up in the clouds, right? That's kind of an interesting inversion of the truth as well. It's like they never come up with their own ideas. They just take the truth and then invert it and pervert it and make it into this weird, twisted, like, even with the globe. We do live in the mother ovum, right? On the outside, the firmament on the outside, and like a toroidal field inside with us on the flat plane. They took us from inside on the stationary plane to outside the ball, right? So it's still a ball or an ovum, but now we're outside instead of inside. See the inversion? Anyways, our Campbell says all this luxury has made us soft. That is definitely true, and it has made us yeah, I guess soft is probably the nicest thing to put it. It'll be really interesting to see, even in just like one or two generations, how much of the gardening information has been lost, and how much of the women that will go out and pick the flowers and then turn it into like a tea or a salve or something, and then be able to heal that. Like how many even know that that lost knowledge, I should say. Thankfully, a lot of people they're like, big pharma's bad. They're seeing how the ultra processed version of reality is not good, and they're like, let's get back to the homesteading. Let's get back to mom at home with the baby, dad too. I think that mom and dad should both be at home with the baby, and that's the environment that baby should grow up with. Cooking our own food, growing our own food, knowing what we're actually giving to our children, knowing what we're not injecting into them, right? Questioning circumcision, questioning all of these different things. And it's really great, actually, that return to natural consciousness that so many people are feeling. So it can give us hope. We see all this, when we turn on the black box, which I don't watch the TV, but the more that we consume of the news and see, all this AI stuff is coming and all of these things are happening, that can really be sad. And it's like, oh, so many people are attracted to that artificial lifestyle and the robotic upgrades and what are the biohackers in movies? They call them biohackers, where they're like trying to upgrade their body and using technologies, transhumanism, right? It can be really start to drain on your hope to look at that aspect. But if we look at the other aspect of the return to homesteading and all of these different things, it can definitely bring hope back. So it's definitely important what we're putting into our minds. John says, C. My C is striking back. Hey, Scott. Hey, modern day life is way more dangerous, though. We will have flying cars by 3000. That'll be interesting. I'm not sure if that will be a thing or not. I know that the powers that be also kind of, or like some of the circles have talked about flying cars. I'm not really sure how they. I just don't know that the powers that be would allow us to have that future. Of course, they would paint it as a good thing. I am a bird lover, and I don't really want us all up in the bird space. I think that we're good on the land here. But I also like, how do you regulate that? How I would feel like it would just. I don't know. I feel like things are messier when humans start to just like be in flying cars and stuff. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm not saying that it won't happen. I just don't. I don't know, because their smart city new world order isn't like us in this Jetsons future where we're all happy and buzzing around in our little personal space cars and just having a good time. It's like it's that we're like enslaved, and those of us that don't take their AI upgrades are going to be getting hunted down in the woods, not flying in cars. If we change course to the blessed future of Enoch, I also still don't see us having flying cars, because I don't believe that God and Goddess necessarily wanted us to be having flying cars. But that's a different conversation. We can talk about it at a different time. Art Campbell said, I thought that was Mount Shasta. Yes, it is. Beautiful Mount Shasta. Meeting place of heaven and earth. New York Life says, do you read the Talmud? I do not read the Talmud. Do you? John says EU is Talmud shite. Okay. Anthony, hello. Hi from American living in Colombia. Hello. I believe that something bad is coming to the US. You unfortunately are right. If we do not change our path, we are definitely headed down a future that is not good for any of us, especially here in America. But America is so influential to the rest of the world as well. Yeah, it's really sad how much they've built up this empire, and all of the world. It's actually kind of, they build it up, but it's a down, because it's an evil empire. But like building up this empire, and then you have all the other countries kind of attached to it, and so when this empire collapses, everything else around it collapses too and gets pulled down even more. But at the same time, again, their empire is like an inversion thing, right? Their evil empire can almost be seen as a negative pyramid, getting bigger and bigger, going downward as they build it, and it collapsing, flattening things out and raising people up. So I do think it's going to have, part of it's going to be a good effect of this stuff crumbling and people waking up, because unfortunately people are, like we were saying, being really soft. People are so complacent, and it's not like they're ready to go and join a homestead, or like a homestead community, or really change their life in a big way that gets them out of the matrix system and back into, alignment with nature and the way of Yahweh. So, yeah. A lot of Americans and Europeans moving to South America. Definitely. Yeah. John says, like the video, everyone. He's having some problems with his beer spill keyboard. Bob said, yesterday the actor playing the executed King Charles stated the Lady Diana is alive, which I believe is true. Interesting. Playing the executed King Charles. Well, 1 second. I'm just curious about what the King Charles execution thing that you're talking about. Is this part of the um um the belief that the military has executed people and now they've put replacement actors that are doing the exact same thing in the same position so that people don't freak out and don't worry as they continue to implement the new world order? Oh wait, what? Okay. Anyways, John says they want us all disconnected from real life. Amen. To you says America is the best. The best what? The best at exporting pornography, the best at exporting trash Hollywood films, the best at exporting trash music, the best at aborting their babies, the best at exploiting animals, the best at dumbing down their citizens, the best at having pedophile um, officials in government. What are you talking about? What part do you think? What part of America do you think is the best? I actually love this physical country, but I also would probably love a lot of other physical countries. I've been to Canada before, and it was beautiful. I've been to Honduras before, and that was pretty cool too, especially because there's like cows walking down the road. I didn't have my relationship with cows that I love so much now as a vegan, but it was really cool that they were just allowed to wander around. Yeah, I used to, like, I was born and raised in a very patriotic, my family is still very patriotic, conservative, all of that kind of stuff. America's the best, all this stuff. But the more that I look into our history, it's like, actually, no, we're not the best. And our government has been corrupt from the beginning. It has just been a really bad situation. Not to say that other countries aren't the same way. They're all corrupt. They're all bad. I'm not fighting for any of them. So I fight for this world and for humanity and for love. So, anyways. R. Campbell says America is the best at fast food. Okay, thank you. There is one thing that, and yeah, the fast food industry, how disgusting the pink slime and the even, yeah, I worked in a restaurant and fast food place before, and the amount of waste, and it's just crazy to think of how many animals go into the system. Even the amount of fruit and vegetables. It's like that to feed all of humanity, all of this food supply is just it's crazy. And especially even more so because how many I'm looking at townhouses over here. No one's growing their own food. So everybody is completely reliant on these big systems, which puts more stress on them to use pesticides and all of these unnatural means to produce more, produce faster, all of these different things. Yeah. T says the best country for us to protect. What is there to protect though? Obviously, yeah, I think that we should be protecting humans, but we need to be protecting ourselves from the government that is seeking to essentially set up this unnatural world all around us. T says Satan is the ruler of the world, but we need to fight for our future. Well, I agree with that. And part of the fight, again, is fighting against the artificial consciousness that they are trying to do. And the political divide and conquer thing goes right along with all of their plans. They're keeping everybody separated and fighting each other and not actually paying attention to what's going on behind the scenes, not paying attention to what, AI kind of bills are being signed in, what kind of digital ID things are being said behind closed doors. 2030 is right around the corner. So there's a lot to be done. The powers that be definitely have their plans, but we, and well, my plan is aligned with the plan of Yahweh because planning against Yah's way is just futile. It's just going to end in a contracting spiral of ending. So they have their plans and we have ours. Theirs, thankfully, will end. The Megillah says that during the time of the seventh trumpet, all these things will happen, but that Lord and Lady can step in whenever they want. They are allowing the cosmic school system to play out, to see who will heed the warning, who will choose natural consciousness over artificial consciousness, and who those of us of all religions, the Nazarene way or not, are going to do great things during these times of tribulation. I'm super excited to be able to help. When I first started my awakening process as a mainstream Christian, I, started questioning the pre-trib rapture. It is not biblical. Even in the parable of the wheat and tares, Christ is very specific and says the tares are gathered first. So during the time of the harvest, the first ones to go are the bad ones. So you don't want to be raptured. You want to be left behind. This is kind of ironic, right? This inversion of the truth. The meek inherit the earth. We're not taken from it. It's also interesting. So I don't believe in the preacher rapture. Let me just finish that for that saying. But I was really started to get excited because I'm like, man, even if there was a rapture, I wouldn't want to leave. I don't want to get taken out in the time when the world is going to need me and the light that I have the most. Not just me. I'm not trying to be selfish. We all have light to bring. We all have our own reason for being here. So, but for me, it was I want to be here during the time when humanity needs help. And so it's even cooler now to come around to, especially the teachings of Enoch and how he says, how can we stay in heaven when our brothers and sisters are below us? We have to reach low to pull them up and also to rise higher ourselves. So such a beautiful, TU says our Constitution is beautiful. I used to think all of those things as well. But yeah, there's, the conspiracies about the Constitution actually being to protect the, corporation type stuff. I just would rather stick with the Nazarene spiritual Constitution or way of being, rather than the government and their old way. Hello, Rally TTMX. Amazing eyes. Thank you. From France. Hopefully everything is nice there in France for you. Generic dude says, can you shout out my friend Gabe Owls? Hello, Gabe. How's it going? Bob says, America remains the most liberated country, and I will soon be living in Mount Shasta. My real estate purchase of 2.5 acres raw land is a done deal. Woohoo! Good job. That's exciting. Now I have the need to clear a lot of brush and will be there for most of the summer. Cool. I don't know if America is the most liberated country. That's the thing, that we've been given that idea. But our government, takes our rights away and then makes us get a license to have them, our rights. So for the longest, I was born and raised here, born and raised in a patriot family. We're the freest country. We're the best country, America, home of the free, land of the brave, blah, blah, blah. It's I just don't buy it anymore. Actually, I think it's just this illusion. We're given an illusion of choice. No president that we're ever given is for us. The House wins every election. Uncle Sam never loses an election, never has, never will. The eagle always wins no matter what. We're given this illusion of choice, all of these different things. So yeah, I don't know. And our routine infant vaccine stuff, there's just a number of things that just don't really see us as being the most free country. Whatever. Not worth arguing over. I'm going to jump off of here and get ready. I think that Sister Jennifer is doing a prayer meeting tonight, but I am getting ready to head off to Florence tomorrow, and I'll be there just for a short period of time before I head off to a business trip. And so my live streams in the next week or so might be a little bit later than noon, but I still do plan on meeting with you for at least the noontime peace contemplation, and we'll see what else comes up. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate that. Everybody jumping on here. Bob says America is the worst country except for all the rest of them. Well, Bob, I've also lived here my whole life, so maybe it might be different. Maybe it might be a grass is greener on the other side type thing. I don't think the grass is greener in Canada. I just know that the grass is not greener here because this place sucks. And that's not all of it, but yeah, it's not. I mean, we're literally constantly sprayed. Our skies are sprayed. Our water is poisoned. Our food is poisoned. President Trump literally just was like, we can't stop glyphosate or else our whole country's going to collapse. Like, protecting pesticides that kill us, like these unnatural, like, yeah, it's anywho. Art Campbell says the only way I'll be moving to Mount Shasta is if I get sent to penitentiary. Aw, why is that? Mount Shasta is awesome, the meeting place of heaven and earth. TU says our Constitution states how we are protected. Sometimes we get frauds showing up. Yeah, my uncle actually was really big into the Constitution and used to teach a Constitution class after or before church. At some point it was before, and other point was after. So yeah, my whole family would go to this like patriot class to learn about the Constitution, and we all had our little pocket constitutions and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Whatever floats your boat, though. I don't consent to any of these laws written by man and without the moral and spiritual ground by which to govern people. So, anyways, I will talk to you all tomorrow. I hope that you have a wonderful evening. May God and the goddess bless you.